Hi, welcome back to Buddhism 101. Today we'll be continuing to talk about morality with part 2, which is called the guarding of the senses. In Buddhism, we recognize there to be 6 senses, and it's nothing magical or spiritual. It's just the 5 ordinary physical senses: seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, and an additional 6th sense being just the mind, which is thinking. So seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, thinking, these are considered to be the 6 doors, if you will, to experience, or doors to perception. So all of our experiences occur at one or another of these doors or these senses. The guarding of the senses simply means to prevent the mind from cultivating judgments, projections, extrapolations of reality, so subjectivity. Trying to keep the mind at some level of objectivity, where we experience the object as it is, because this is what will allow us to focus and to see things as they are, cultivating concentration and wisdom, which are what morality is meant to lead to. So the practice of guarding the senses is actually a much more intrinsic or essential form of morality from a Buddhist perspective. The consideration or the idea is that extrapolations, judgments, projections, these are all somehow immoral, in the sense that, in the specific sense that they lead more to suffering and to stress. They lead us to misunderstand or to follow our addictions and our desires and our aversions and our hatreds and our fears and our worries. They tend to cultivate these negative states of mind, as opposed to simply states of peace and clarity of mind. They tend to dull and to confuse and to darken the mind. So this is really the beginning or the entry level for meditation practice in a Buddhist sense, where we begin to pull the mind back from its judgments, from its partialities, its categorizing of reality into arbitrary categories of acceptable, unacceptable, good, bad, right, wrong, me, mine, and so on. Without having taken the time to really understand what is good, what is bad, what is right, and what is wrong from an objective point of view. So from this point of view, morality is simply bringing the mind back to reality. It's when you see something, to have it just be seeing; when you hear something, to have it just be hearing and nothing else. So when you experience something, to have it just be experiencing that thing. And this is accomplished by, it's accomplished in many ways. It's firstly accomplished by simply forcing the mind, guarding the mind in the sense of, when the mind goes out, bringing it back, saying no, don't, just forbidding the mind to go out. It can be done by clamping the mind down or repressing the desires and so on. This is a conventional sort of guarding the senses. One way is physically, to prevent yourself from giving rise to likes or dislikes. So when you're walking around in the city, or driving or whatever, or riding in a car, to not be looking around, sightseeing, or trying to take in what's going on around you, to not allow yourself to see the things that would create desire or aversion or worry or fear or so on. To simply close your eyes or lower your gaze or so on. To avoid specific situations, to not go to bars or to not watch entertaining shows or listen to music or so on, knowing that it somehow excites you and creates habits of addiction and attachment. But obviously this is only going to be a temporary fix, and I think it's worth noting that this will never give rise to concentration or wisdom by itself. So from the Buddhist perspective, morality has to be something deeper on an experiential level, where even when you see something that would potentially attract you, you are able to be objective about it. You're able to focus your mind just on the essence of the object. So again, seeing is just seeing. And this is accomplished by something that we call mindfulness. This is something that I'll get into in a later video. But for now, basically, the practice of morality requires this ability to capture the object in its essence. So when you see something, you remind yourself, this is seeing. Just saying to yourself, seeing. When you hear something, you remind yourself, hearing. When you smell, smelling. When you taste, tasting. When you feel, feeling. When you think, thinking. Guarding the senses from any sort of extrapolation or projection. So the mind grasps the seeing as just an experience, and nothing more, grasps the experience just as it is. This is considered to be morality because it keeps the mind from any judgment that would cause one to perform any immoral deed. So any speech that is done, that is performed as a result of our experiences is therefore pure. Any actions that are performed as a result of our experience of the world are therefore pure and objective. So instead of when we see something, getting angry about it and speaking or acting in a way to cause suffering, or hear or smell or so on, we're able to act rationally and with clarity of mind. So not much to say about it. It's quite a simple concept, but it's really the very essence of Buddhist meditation practice. This beginning of the path of cultivating morality, where we begin to pull the mind back, and eventually the mind will become accustomed to seeing things as they are. This will give rise to concentration and therefore wisdom, two things that we'll talk about in future videos. But for now, another aspect of morality, really probably the essence of what we mean by morality in a Buddhist context. So very important for us to understand at the very outset, so that we can get an idea of what is meant by Buddhist morality and Buddhist meditation practice. So thank you for tuning in. This is Buddhism 101.